Hello, loves. How are you? Jamie Flares here. I want to talk to you today about the wisdom of the heart teacher. And I want to share some things from some threads I've been gathering about the heart from biology, from physiology, from medical science, as well as more of the energetics of the heart. And I think the heart is important. I've been talking a lot about emotions lately. And of course, the heart has, traditionally been associated with the emotions. I want to open that up a little bit more today. But, they say it's almost kind of trite. They say that, the longest journey we ever take is from our heads to our hearts. Even though it's, just down here. It's one of the longest journeys we take. And, we're so trained in our culture to be mentally focused, to be focused in the mind. And the mind is the super powerful tool. We got the kitty doing her thing. The mind is the super powerful tool by which we can achieve a lot on this planet. And, the mind by its very function is best suited for judging and separating things and analyzing things and all of these sorts of things, which are useful. But when that's the only process that is leading and we're missing our other essential functions, situations and separations and conflicts can ensue both within ourselves and in the world. So it's so important that we find our way back to our heart again and again, particularly in the landscape that we find ourselves in. So I want to share a few threads about the heart and this magnificent technology that we have inside of ourselves. So the heart is one of the very first organs that develops in utero when we are developing in the womb. It's one of the very first organs that develops. It's so important. And as we know, and the electromagnetic field of the heart is 60 times greater than the electromagnetic field that's emitted from our brains. So our heart's electromagnetic field actually extends up to 3 feet in all directions from our body, which is interesting because we also liken the human aura, the space that the human aura takes up around us as about that same distance as well. So it's as if that heart electromagnetic field is actually, either the same as or couples with the energy. It's our human energy field essentially, and it's this energy of the heart. I love that the heart of the whale is the biggest. The whale has the biggest heart of any mammal known, and this animal is we think about like whale songs. This animal, it's harmonic, which we'll talk about in a minute. Is harmonic, is such a healing frequency, and it's such a large animal. It's such an animal of the depths. So there's some beautiful kind of metaphorical magic about this whale and its heart and how big it is. The heart, so some interesting things. So the Heart Math Institute, which you've probably heard of, but if you haven't, it's a fantastic organization that's long been researching the physiology and the function of the heart. And one of the things that the researchers at the Heart Math Institute have discovered is that the heart is actually precognitive. So the heart actually knows things before the mind does. And the experiment that they ran, I'll describe briefly, was that they had people, look at a series of pictures, positive pictures, negative pictures, pictures, the negative ones made the heart rhythm go erratic and irregularly. And the more calming, soothing, more positively experienced images created cohesion and this rhythm, this rhythmic nature of the heart, this cohesion of the heart. And they found that the participants who were in the study, their hearts would respond to an image before the image was actually shown. So they actually knew in their hearts the response to what was coming before they actually saw the image. So before their sensory system and their brains took in the information. So I think that's very interesting, is that, our hearts actually know things before our minds do. The technology of the heart is about coherence, about synchronization, and about entrainment. So coherence is that harmonic rhythm of the heart. And there's a lot in the Heart Math Institute that talks about how to create coherence in the heart, how to create that rhythm. It's not just, it's, partially about relaxation, but it's more than that. And it's this ability for us to come into coherence within our heart centers, this harmonic rhythm. Coherence is also ordering. It's consistent and it's intelligible. So there's this like structure of the heart. within the heart that we can create and harness the power of as well. And so there's these other two kind of qualities. We have synchronization, so it's able to sync up, right? We can actually sync our heart fields to other people's heart fields. And then similarly, this idea of entrainment. Our entrainment is a process by which, and this happens in a lot of different realms of life. Entrainment is that, you know, one frequency affects and creates a resonance or a similar frequency in another. So this idea that our hearts can entrain one another. So, you know, a heart that is calm, you know, we even think about children who are being co-regulated by their parents, you know, their nervous systems. I imagine that there's also this heart function that's happening, this heart coherence and entrainment that is also happening. And so there's this aspect of the heart where we can access our beingness. You know, the mind is about doing and creating and accomplishing and all of that. And there's something about the heart where, you know, everything comes together in the heart. And when we can create coherence and this intelligible structure within our own hearts, energetically and otherwise, and physiologically, we can also, that very beingness can entrain and synchronize and harmonize with others. So that's one really beautiful thing about the heart. Related to that is that, you know, we have a resonant, we have a harmonic in our heart. We can't necessarily hear it. And it's interesting because the yogis call the heart the anahata, the unstruck chord. So it's like that unheard sound. There's a harmonic that dwells within our heart, a specific sound that, or wave or frequency or vibration that our hearts emit that has an impact on others beyond us. And so there's this capacity of the heart to make an impact through this energetic, this unique imprint of our own heart harmonic, and that we can affect that by the quality of our beingness. So I want to talk briefly about, so my business is actually called The Sacred Heart. I've been working with the Sacred Heart as a symbol for many, many years. It came into my life very strongly several years ago when I was in a significant healing crisis. And I was actually a crisis related to my womb, which I consider the lower heart, which I won't get into now. This is a story for another day. But the Sacred Heart symbol. So, you know, we see in religious iconography, and this is not a religious conversation. This is just looking at a symbol because I'm inherently interested in symbols and what they unpack and what they offer us and what they teach us, just like any metaphor. And so the symbol of the Sacred Heart, you know, we see like icons of Jesus and Mother Mary pointing to the heart, to the Sacred Heart. And I want to kind of open that up because there's a lot there that actually is a beautiful teaching tool about the wisdom of the heart. But there definitely seem to be like, this is the way, you know, like this is the way, is into the heart. And so I want to talk about a few things about that Sacred Heart. One is that, you know, that Sacred Heart is associated, as we know, with the qualities of love and compassion and empathy and care for all beings, you know, that loving kindness that lives in the heart. But there's a few other pieces with the heart, the Sacred Heart. It also represents our interior life. You know, we talk about that unstruck chord, that unheard sound. It's like that innermost thing, that innermost essence that isn't heard necessarily, that isn't, it's expressed, but it's not tangible. It's intangible. The Sacred Heart also has a couple of other interesting qualities. So we have that heart. The heart is on fire, right? So that's one. And then the second is that the heart is often represented with a sword that goes all the way through it. So I want to talk about both of those. One, with the fire. So why is the heart on fire? You know, what does the fire have to do here? Fire is about transformation. Fire is about catharsis, like burning away what's not true. These are going to be interrelated, actually. And the heart is also, you know, the fire is transmuting. So there's this quality of transmutation and transformation that is fire that feels important. So let's actually go into that, and then I'll talk about the sword. So as you know, the heart is associated with the emotional body, right? And as we've grown without a lot of education about our emotional system and the system of our heart, the technology of our heart, we tend to have learned to do two things. So I'll speak what those are, and then I'll talk about the center path. One is that we avoid our feelings. We avoid what's inside. We avoid that truth inside of our being. We avoid it, and we push down. We suppress the emotions. We suppress our own emotional experiences. Sometimes there's wisdom in the interface of our psyches with strong emotions, but oftentimes, part of the dis-ease or disharmony, that dysregulation of our coherent hearts, is the inability or unwillingness to feel our feelings and to push it down and numb. So there's a lot of numbing that can happen. So that's one thing. That's like one out of balance heart energy. And then the other is that we can collapse into the pain body of our feeling nature. And it's like the river with no banks, right? It becomes a flood. And we fall into misery. We fall into disrepair and despair and disrepair. We feel inherently broken and we feel alone, right? Both of those are distortions of the heart frequency. That's not a natural way of the human. The middle path is, again, we have the heart, right? And then we have this fire, this illuminating fire. So the heart's function is to transmute the qualities of our pain, of our feelings. We have to bring it into the heart. We have to bring those feelings in. We have the courage to feel them, get whatever support we need in order to do so. But the heart actually, when it is allowed to flow freely, when energy is allowed to move freely in this space, it actually transmutes energy. It shifts the energy. And part of that is, I believe, or take this idea, try it on. When we bring it into the heart, we bring it into the divine. We bring it into whatever source, whatever relationship you have with source, the divine. That's where it lives. It's a portal through which that energy can come and be met, so that we find that space where we are not alone, where we are met, where we're being with the feelings, and we have that divine energy that is with us as we feel, that feels as we feel. It's like the ultimate empathy happens for ourselves, with ourselves, inside of ourselves, with this relationship to spirit, to the divine, which is part of the technology of the heart. The other piece is this sword. So it's related. When I first encountered the sword in the Sacred Heart, I was in this healing journey, and I was like, that sword is just it's just representative of violence. The sword is just a tool of violence. But I actually came to discover that sword is actually a teaching tool. The sword pierces all the way in and through the heart. And, to me, I've always looked at that sword as the wisdom that we can't go around our feelings. We can't numb, we can't collapse into, we can't go around. We have to go all the way in and through. And there's something that happens when we pierce all the way to the center of something that allows us to come out the other side. So this is why courage lives in the heart too, is because there's so much courage required to go all the way in and through something. And that's a lot of what we're being asked to do on this planet right now, is go all the way in and through, to not look away, to not collapse into the pain body and become unable to function, to somehow stand in that middle path and to be willing to feel the pain and all that comes with being a human, the grief, the sadness, the anger, the confusion, and be willing to feel it. So, is there anything else I want to say about the heart? Yes, but I will leave it at that. Thanks for listening. I'd love to hear what you know about the heart, how you experience the heart's wisdom and the heart's medicine. There's so much more I could say about the heart, but we're going to leave it at that for now. I hope something in here was interesting for you, and I'd love to hear your musings. All right, be well.